It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Mandy the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this week's episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
And Les Webster.
Hello all.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks. And you?
All right. Mikey?
Tired but good.
I hope everybody's doing okay out there. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy, guys?
Well, so I finally got finished with Animaniacs on Netflix, which is a lot of fun and holds up relatively well, surprisingly. I mean, there are some jokes that are just clearly
Dated.
a product of the age, which was 20 plus years ago, but still fun, a lot of fun stuff there. But now for Jollies, I have moved on to Amazon, who has Batman the Animated Series, and I'm going to watch all of them, all 4 seasons.
Awesome.
And that, I remember not watching a whole lot of it when it was on the air, and that was 20 years ago too, at least. But
Yeah.
so it'll be fun to see them because I know a lot of people, when asked, will say that their favorite Batman is Kevin Conroy. So it ought to be entertaining.
And a lot of people say their favorite Joker is Mark Hamill.
Oh yes, way more of those.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy, and I remember a couple of years back going to a con and seeing Conroy do a panel, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He was really he was really entertaining. He had a lot of funny stories, so it'll be cool.
Definitely.
Two good choices of watching there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Les, what about you?
I went to the movies this past weekend and saw The Monster of Phantom Lake, a movie by Christopher Mihm, who did this in 2006. He's done 10 movies at this time. His 11th is about to come out. He takes a look at 50s and 60s science fiction for the most part and does parodies of them. In the movie I did see, the jokes were spot on. They were very funny, very well done. I just watched Danny Johnson Saves the World last night, and this is bent more for kids, but it was well done also. His 11th movie is coming out, and it is called Weirskito Nazi Hunter. So I'm looking forward to this one, which comes out in like November.
Wow. Okay.
That is a title right there. I gotta say.
That is a title.
I'm intrigued given that title.
I think I'm going to be in line for this one. This should be fun. And he does this by Kickstarter or something of that nature to raise the money for the productions. He's out of the Minneapolis area and just puts out some really entertaining things. You get to laugh, you get to see what parts of the movie are from other movies, those that he's trying to make fun of. So if anybody gets a chance, look it up online. Maybe you can make some purchases there for the films.
Cool. Very cool.
Very cool. A little bit of a tangent, real quick. Have you seen
No.
a movie? We mean no. Yeah, right. No tangents. That's gonna hold up. Yeah, this show could pull that off, right? Have you seen? Netflix had it at least up until a while ago. It may still be there. Have you seen a movie called Iron Sky on Netflix?
Yes. In fact, they did a comic book after it too,
Did they?
about the Nazis living on the other side of the
On the moon,
moon.
yeah.
Yes,
That is a fun movie.
it is a fun movie. A lot of good jokes in that one too.
Hmm.
Yet they play it extremely straight, and that's right now that's the way they should put out some of these films. But Iron Sky was a good movie.
Uh-huh. But yeah, okay. Tangent over.
Oh, that's okay. For those who don't know, this week was the 30th anniversary of the Three Stooges getting their star on the Walk of Fame. And the network decades has been devoting the whole week to Three Stooges. And as part of the celebration, they've been broadcasting this docuseries called Hey Mo, Hey Dad. And it's narrated by Paul Howard, I believe is his name. He's the son of Mo. And it's a 9 episode series. I am up to episode 6. I've been taping them or DVRing them, and I've got through the first 5 episodes, and it's been really interesting. Just seeing it's obviously from the perspective of the Mo Howard family, especially since Paul's been doing it. But it's just some insights, stuff that I did not know before. I heard stories of Curly being a ladies' man, but it kind of surprised me to find out that he did have a mouth. He liked to throw a swear word every once in a while, apparently. But it's been real kind of interesting. Like I said, I've watched the first 5 episodes, and the fifth one ended with Curly having the really big stroke, which basically ended his career, and Mo going, okay, my baby brother, maybe dying here, but also it's one of the most popular member of my comedy team. What am I going to do?
Yeah, how do you replace
And so,
that?
how do you replace that? So I know the next episode would be bringing Shemp back in, and for those who are not real well versed with the Three Stooges history, Shemp was originally the third Stooge back during their vaudeville days when they
Right.
were with Ted Healy, which I I'd heard some of the stories about Ted Healy, but I didn't realize what an ass he was. And wow. And Ted was the reason why Shemp left in the first place. They had, according to this, while they were still on the vaudeville circuit, they broke off. They broke away from Ted and was going around as Howard Finding Howard.
Hmm.
And then I don't remember exactly what it was that made him go back, but they went back to Ted, and Shemp was like, the hell with this, and he broke off, and that's how Curly got involved. They brought, Mo brought Curly in.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, when they started doing the shorts,
Yeah,
Mo tried to get Shemp to come back, and Shemp was like, "No, I'm starting to build a real career in Hollywood." Because he had been in several movies. I mean, pretty much
oh
as
yeah,
pretty much background players, but he had actually started to build a career, and so he wasn't interested anymore at that point. And so
right,
they had Curly come in. Or
yeah,
Jerry was his real name, but yeah.
yeah,
And if memory serves, Shemp was the oldest Howard brother.
yes, he was the first,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Which was funny because I don't, you, I'm sure you knew that his name was actually Sam, but
Hmm.
when his mom would call him, it came out Shemp. So
Yeah.
that's how he got the name.
Yeah, and with the littler kids, it just kind of stuck.
Yeah. So
Yep.
so I know the next episode's going to be Shemp returning, and then we'll get into the Joe and Curly Joe and all that. So, but it's been really interesting. I mean, they spent, like I said, it's mainly geared toward the Howard brothers and all that, but episode 4 spent quite a while with Larry, and it was nice to see them talk about how underappreciated he was, because he was the middle guy. He was the ones, they talked about, his reactions to what Mo and Curly were doing were just as great as whatever gags they were doing.
Hmm.
His reactions was just awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, it changed when Shemp came back, because Shemp obviously wasn't going to be as physical, and of course they were getting older at this point. So it's been fun. It's been fun. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Learning some tidbits.
yeah, I would be interested in seeing that because I remember they did a biopic maybe 10 years ago or so, which was really good.
Yeah,
It was
and
actually
they
they actually painted that as it was kind of a depressing story because of I mean
and the
just because
thing,
of the stuff that just kept happening to them with Curly getting sick and honestly Shemp. I mean when that all came down, when he came back and he had a heart attack and on set,
yeah,
which eventually killed him. I mean he didn't die
yeah.
immediately, but he died of it.
No, but
And it
he
was
had another one. He had another one because he was only back for a couple of years.
yeah it was there were yeah I mean it was like I want to say 4 or 5 off the top of my head. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
I have. They put out all of the shorts kind of in sequence in a bunch of DVD sets, and I
Yeah.
have them, but they're not in the room I'm sitting in right now, so I can't reach them.
Right.
But yeah, it's like 8 sets, and it's a total of like 18 DVDs for the whole 190 shorts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Shemp ran for a while. I want to say it was like 5 years.
The
But that,
thing is, because of course, when stuff like this happens, I always start trying to dig in, do a little research, and yeah, the last he had a heart attack after seeing a boxing match, and that's what killed him. And they still had 4 more shorts to film, and unfortunately, with the contract they had, there was nothing they could do. So they actually reused old footage and then had a stand-in for some of the stuff.
Yeah, the thing to note about that was they had already started recycling footage anyway in order
Right,
just to keep up. And because I mean they had to do X number of shorts every year and they kept cutting budgets and cutting budgets and cutting budgets. So they were forcing them to do the same number of shorts every year but on like half the amount of money. And so they had
right.
started recycling footage for a while or had been doing it for a while. And yeah, so ultimately and there's like you said like 4 shorts where and if you watch them it's really a little creepy because most of what they would do would be Mo and Larry on screen and they would be hollering at Shemp off set off screen
Yeah,
and occasionally they would throw in a sound snippet or something and they would have some guy who was roughly the build of Shemp and all they would ever show is his back, and he would be doing stuff. He would like walk through or something,
yeah. It
or
was
like
either his back or his side. Yeah, just
yeah.
where you
So you
could
couldn't
not
see
get
his
a real good.
face.
Right,
Yeah, and it would be there would be like a 20-second snippet scene of him like unloading a truck by himself
right,
from the back, and then he would like carry the stuff off towards the door, and then all of a sudden Mo and Larry would have the stuff,
right.
but Shemp wasn't there, and they'd say, "Oh, Shemp, I sent Shemp to go do this or something," and it was a little ham-fisted, but yeah, overall it was a really weird effect when you know what happened.
Right. One thing that was mentioned in this, and it was actually aimed toward what was going on with Curly, but it fits here the same situation. They talked about the one saying that the show must go on. He said, at one point it can be very uplifting and positive, but it can also be so cold and insincere. And that's pretty much what this was,
Hmm.
because they had to move on, because Mo found Curly like in his dressing room after he had had the stroke, and the reason why was They had to have him back on filming, so they had to work around that, and then now here several years later, they had to do the same damn thing with another Howard brother, and that. You think about it, that's sad.
It really is. And I mean, a lot of why they had to do it was the fact that honestly, they weren't making a hell of a lot of money doing this. So they
Right,
had families to feed. They all had families.
right, yeah.
I mean, even Curly. Curly had a wife and a kid when he died. And yeah, it was, like I said, it's the biopic is kind of sad and depressing, taken all at once.
Oh.
And so I would be interested in getting more of the story. I've seen a couple of other documentaries about it, but I would be interested in seeing the whole monstrosity that you got there.
Yeah, because it's involving not only Moe's kids but Larry's kids. I don't remember. I can't remember right now if any of Curly's family was involved. But there's friends and all that as well as involved as well. It's not just scholars and that kind of stuff. That's the good thing. It
It's
actually
not
gets
just
the family involved.
right. It's not just historians sitting there talking about it.
Right. We're also getting the personal side as well. So
Right.
I don't know if it's all on DVD or if it's available on streaming services, but if you can get your hands on it, I would definitely watch it, especially if you're a Stooges fan, because it's been interesting. It's been kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see them out of character as well.
Right.
I mean, they're still kind of funny and entertaining, but they're not the Stooges.
Right.
So
Yeah, they're actually reasonably intelligent people, and I mean, you have to be able to basically write that stuff. I mean, you can't just pretend to be stupid and do that stuff. I mean, there's thought process there. Yeah, it's interesting. And we totally left Les behind with this one.
Oh, no, I'm just following. I agree with what you guys have said. They were fantastic entertainers and very innovative with what they did. They brought slapstick to the screen, essentially.
Mm.
They expanded on what the Marx Brothers had done and showed how pain to your best friend is one of the funniest things around.
yeah. I forgot who mentioned it, but they had said that Lou Costello was standing off stage watching Curly, taking notes, and he said if you watch, you can see a little Curly in Lou's performances.
Cool.
That sounds convincing. I can see how that happens.
And one other thing before we go ahead and get into today's topic, and I gotta find this because they did do some films for MGM when they were still with Ted Healy. There is one film that actually has the three of them with Laurel and Hardy.
Oh wow.
And for the life of me, cannot remember what that film was. I didn't even write down the name. I'm gonna have to go back and find it. But it would be fun just to see if they actually interacted with each other. They did. They said they were in the same film, but they didn't say anything about there being any scenes together.
Right.
You would think if there was, there would have been some mention. We would know about it. But then again, it's not really publicized a heck of a lot that Lucille Ball was in one of the Three Stooges shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And she was. This was back when she was a blonde.
Yep. Kind of hard to tell with the black and white, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you're familiar with her voice, she just starts talking. You go, "That's Lucy."
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with her voice,
she's pretty young at the time, but it's definitely
yeah,
her.
yeah, it's her. So cool. All right, let's go ahead and get into this week's topic. Since we were kind of talking about movies and the fact that the summer movie season's coming over, we decided let's go ahead and talk a little bit more movies. But we're going a different route. In one of our previous podcasts, we talked about movies we would love to see remake or that kind of thing. we decided on this one, sequels we would love to see that we know we'll never see, and have a little fun with that. And I think leading off will be Mikey, I believe, right?
I believe you are correct, sir.
Woo.
And I'm going to lead off with a movie from like 4 years ago that I, it was a lot. Okay, it's The Cabin in the Woods. And I knew the instant the credits started rolling at the end that I wanted a sequel to this movie. I knew because I had just watched the movie that there was no way in hell that was going to happen because of the way it ended, because of the story as it progressed near the end. If you're not familiar, this movie it starts out as a typical five friends go take a vacation, go out to a remote cabin in the woods, and it quickly turns several corners. And it keeps turning corners and going off into new and interesting. The word that pops in my head is tropes, but that's not right. Just directions that a typical horror movie would go, and it just sort of takes puts a little bit of a twist on every one of them, and it just keeps making these turns, and it never stops, and it's really cool, and it gets very weird, and it's a lot of fun. And man, the way it ended, I was just like, oh god, I want a sequel to this.
It pokes fun of a horror movie genre without it being just over being slapstick or just incredibly just dumb humor. It's just there's a little humor into it, but it really pokes fun of the genre.
Right, and they take it in some really weird and interesting directions. I mean, yes, it's a 4-year-old movie, but if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil this movie for you. You should go see it. It is one of I mean, and if it helps to persuade you to go see this movie, one of the writers on this movie is Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
So if Avengers is your thing, is your baby, check out this movie. Um, it's got some horror elements to it, but overall, I don't think of it as a horror movie.
I figured you were gonna pick that one. That was one that was gonna be on my list, but I'm like, I think Mike wants to do this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I
I
have talked about this movie before. I don't
yeah
think we've done it on the show, but I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before.
yeah, I love the movie too. It's just it's so smart. Like you say, it takes the items that are in horror movies that we as the audience go, what the hell, and it just
Right, all those places in a horror movie where the big joke is somebody yelling at the screen, "Don't open that door." It really has fun with those moments. It telegraphs
yes,
them and then it opens them up and turns them into something different and fun. And yeah, it's a good one.
it's a fun movie. Um,
I wish it had made
Les, have
enough
you?
money to warrant a sequel also, but it probably
Yeah,
really didn't.
Les, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
We gotta sit you down to watch this one.
It does sound like one that I need to see.
It's a lot of
It it
fun.
it is a lot of fun. We may have to put that up on the store or something like that. Close early and do it. Very cool. Very cool. My first choice is a older film by only say 32 years. It's a fun little sci-fi film that holds up real well. The special effects hold up real well. It's a very good story. The acting's really good. The music's awesome, and it's called The Last Starfighter. And the premise is young man who's ready to go off to college, but until then he is living and working at an RV park. And his main form of entertainment is a arcade game, video arcade game. And come to find out there's a little bit more of a purpose for that than just for the game. It's not just a game, and you were dealing with aliens, we're dealing with space battles and all that. It's just a fun movie. I think it's a Disney film, but it's surprisingly well for a movie that old. The special effects still hold up that well.
Yeah, it's so surprising that an 80s movie has special effects that hold up. But I do seem, it's been a while since I saw it, but I do seem to remember a lot of really good model work.
Yeah,
It was mainly CGI, though. It was more computer work than anything. And that's what was really effective in it to me.
yeah, but
Because
still, go ahead.
I was just going to say Disney had tried CGI before and or computer graphics, and it didn't work as well as this one
Tron.
did. I agree. This is a fun movie, and you've got quite um, a list of actors there,
Yep.
and that even made it more fun.
Yeah. I just it's just such a fun movie. God, I need to pull it out. I need to pull that out and watch it again. I'm about ready. Les, what you got?
My first choice is older than that. And it was a movie that we were promised the sequel was headed our way, and that is The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Woo-hoo.
I can sit down and watch this one almost any time. It's so easy to take. It's a little convoluted in parts, but I have said before that when they make reference in the movie to comic books based on Buckaroo Banzai, I went out and I started looking. I had not heard of comic books of Buckaroo Banzai. It was all fabrication, according to the movie. Marvel then came out later with a 2 or 3 issue series based on the movie itself. But the movie itself, I think, still holds up. A lot of the effects are still good. Some of the lines are still tremendous. And I quote them myself quite a bit. I just wish that we had stepped forward or they had stepped forward and had done a second. I would still like to do that. I think it could be done. After all, they had that release recently of the Terminator movie, the clip with Arnold's second son, the one that resembles him so much. It was just like 2 minutes long or something, but I could see him stepping in for Dad. I can see that somebody could take place of some of the actors in Banzai and move on with it. I thought it was great fun.
Yeah, there's some serious casting in that movie too.
Yeah.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
Even the music, the closing music is still fun as they're marching toward the camera.
Is it slow motion march?
No, but they're in step with the tune, so that's what's
Oh, well, that's
kind
all
of
that
fun.
matters right there. That's the important
There
part.
you go.
And the tune and on beat.
Very cool. Mikey.
All right. I'm actually going with a more recent one than my first one, which was only 4 years old. I am going to go with Dracula Untold, which was from 2014. And this is recent enough that who knows, maybe they'll even do a sequel to it. But it was a distinctly more realistic depiction of Dracula than we've seen really ever, pretty much. Is because it focuses on young Prince Vlad, who was basically Vlad the Impaler, who was a 16th century, 15th or 16th century prince in Eastern Europe, who was one of the templates for Stoker when he wrote Dracula. And it comes at it from the perspective of a young prince, a newly married, new father, ruler of this small nation in the mountains, and essentially what he thinks he needs to do in order to save his people and save his family and do all of that stuff. And so it shows him as much figuring out how to wield the power. I mean that ends up taking up quite a bit of the movie, and that whole process is a very it's very relatable for a character. To put any judgment on it, I'm not going to do, but it makes the character a lot more real than Bela Lugosi standing in the shadows doing that thing with his eyes and wriggling his long fingers at people. It makes him more of a character. And the ending, again, just like the last one, the ending, the last 2 minutes of this movie were enough by themselves to make me want a sequel to this flick because if you're familiar with Charles Dance, and more than likely you are because he's all over the place, he plays the vampire that gives Vlad the powers, or tricks Vlad into the powers, basically. And the scene of him at the end is just like, oh man, you're just dying for a showdown at the end of the scene, or I was anyway. And it's just, I would really like to see a sequel to this. And apparently, I'm looking online a little bit. I'm not alone. Other people want to see a sequel to this too. So maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe.
Cool.
So this is prior to Lugosi's version. It's as in time frame, I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
So
this is set in like the 15th century.
So this is the prelude.
This is Vlad becoming a vampire.
Okay.
Not. I mean, by the time you get to the Lugosi version, he's been a vampire for 500 years, and if you've not seen the Lugosi Dracula, A, what the hell's wrong with you? And B, he exudes this confidence that all of the Draculas after him struggled to pull off themselves because it was just there. And that was definitely, Lugosi was definitely a Dracula who had been doing Dracula for a long time. Whereas this is a guy learning essentially how to be a vampire over the course of the movie, and there's a good bit of CG. There's some battle scenes. There's some other technical looking vampire stuff going on, and it's a movie that looks really good. And it, as you would expect in a vampire movie, mostly it's kind of dark, but you get used to that when you watch enough vampire movies.
Cool. I've not seen this one. I remember seeing the trailers and being very impressed and intrigued, but it just passed by me. Sounds like I definitely need to check it out.
I do wish, if there's one thing I wish it hadn't been PG-13. I wish they had gone ahead and made it R. And I don't know. I mean, it's pretty violent anyway, but when it was violent, it was pretty vicious. But there's not that much violence in it, so I can kind of see why it's not. But I think it might have been interesting to go ahead and push it a little further.
I'll be looking for it on demand here. See what I can find on it.
Yeah, because I don't think it's made it to Netflix yet.
Okay.
It is not that I have seen.
Okay. Cool. My second choice is a little bit more recent than my first choice, but not by much. We're talking 1988.
You are such a child of the 80s. God.
Woohoo! Yeah, not really, but okay. It is They Live, John Carpenter's They Live. Just another great sci-fi little mystery. And for those who have not seen this one, you really need to go watch it. It is about the story about aliens who are already living among the people of Earth, and slowly They've been kind of keeping this under control through some little messages and all this. And it stars the late Roddy Piper and Keith David, and just a fun film. You could say yes, there was an ending to the film, but there was a door open because, and I don't want to go into too much details, but there were so many questions that should be running through your head. At least it was on me. It was like, okay, we gotta go on. I gotta know more. What happened? And this is the movie that had the very famous quote, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm out of bubblegum." It was a fun film. Nice little sci-fi film, and of course it's Carpenter, who's I'm a big fan of. So
Yeah, he loves to do that open the door thing too. His
yeah,
so it would be so easy to go back and just one by one go through his movies and make a sequel off of it, and actually have
yeah.
it be good. That's the trick, and have it make sense. I guess is probably what I really mean by that. But to not have to reach really far to find a sequel idea, because
Well, he's only directed one sequel, and Skip from LA. um, not well regarded.
I didn't think it was as good as the first one. Honestly, I didn't think it was as good
No,
as Escape from New York, and in a way, it kind of that would be the one that would be hardest to do a sequel for. I think of the ones I've seen,
yeah.
of the Carpenter flicks I've seen. I mean, I don't know. In the Mouth of Madness would be tricky to do a sequel for, but it could be done. But yeah, they really wrapped up Escape from New York, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's in it again.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. Well, Pliskin, man, it would have been nice to see a prequel, or see some of the other adventures. I mean, it's a cool character. I mean, it's not a character we have not seen before, but it was a really cool character to watch for a couple hours.
Right, and he turned out to be pretty popular
Yeah.
too. I mean, for a movie that was for movies that weren't received all that well, that character is pretty well known.
Well, I mean, he's had two or three different comic book series. I mean, most recent was Boom that just finished up a few months ago.
Hmm.
So
And they have another one in the process.
yeah, it's
Right,
actually
the crossover.
cro- the crossover
Mm.
with Big Trouble. So it's gonna be Russell versus Russell. Woohoo!
As far as your choice, Thomas,
Yeah.
I can see them doing a sequel to They Live. All you have to do is either bring a relative of his in, of Piper's character,
Uh huh.
or just make it so someone else stumbles across his papers or something writing about it. Because
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because something like this, you would think the hero would want everybody to know about it and would keep track of it a little bit, so the future would know of it too.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and spoil a movie that's 30 years old, but
Eh,
yeah, he destroyed the satellite, which revealed everybody, or at least just in just that region, I would say. I mean, I don't know if it would be that's just taking out one satellite would reveal them all to the rest of the world, but still, I mean, if yeah, you can go down that path of going from there, or like you're talking about, maybe, or since this was all taking place in kind of California, have like a story happen in New York where someone discovers kind of goes through and discovers the sunglasses and in the underground and all that kind of stuff, kind of the same way Piper's character did to a degree. But yeah, there's different ways you could go with it to do another one
yep, it could be done.
if there was interest. But
Right.
so, all right, Les, what you got?
My next choice is even more recenter than Mike's. last one. The Equalizer. Denzel Washington's character had also run out of bubble gum, and I can see that between his character and John Wick, the Russians are all gone by now.
Possibly the entire population of the country, yes.
Yes. And I would like to see another one of Equalizer. I love the TV series, and that was transferred fairly well to the big screen in this movie. And it's one of those, of course, at the end of the movie, he writes out a message online saying, essentially, if you need help, call me or contact me, the Equalizer. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do one. Do one quick.
And if you can't contact me, you can always contact the A-Team.
Speaking of remakes from old 80s TV shows.
Or you could catch him south of the border pretty soon in the Magnificent Seven.
Yep. The remake of a revision.
Yeah.
Because I don't consider a Magnificent Seven a remake in the truest sense. Because it's Seven Samurai that's been re-imaged into a Western.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it had what, 2 sequels?
There was 3.
And for a few sevens more.
There was. Wow.
Sounds
Because
good
there
for
was.
a one-armed bandit.
There you go. Because there was. Go ahead.
A fistful of yen.
There you go. Oh God.
No, that's from a different movie.
That's a different movie.
That's
yeah,
a Kentucky Fried movie.
Yeah. There was one sequel with Yul Brynner, and then they did another one where George Kennedy took over the role, and then I think there was like a TV movie where Lee Van Cleef took over the role. I know because within somewhere within the last year or so, someone played all those movies as a marathon, and I recorded and watched some of it.
You watched it as long as you could stand to, basically.
Well, I mean, the sequel, the Yul Brynner sequel was pretty good, and then George Kennedy was pretty good. But I mean, it's essentially the same. It's the same thing. He happens to find these few friends that are willing to join up with him to overcome this great obstacle, in which most of them are going to die, and the TV movie with Lee Van Cleef was really not good. So. But I mean, it's essentially the same story over and over and over again. But
yeah.
Okay, so let me toss this trivia question out to you. In what movies did Yul Brynner wear that costume from the Magnificent Seven?
he wore Westworld.
Which is also
He what? He did what again?
Westworld.
Westworld, and of course the second Seven movie, and one other.
Were they underneath his pajamas in The King and I?
No.
The Ten Commandments.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
I am quickly running out of Yul Brynner movies here, I have to say.
Future World.
Oh, that was a sequel.
I'm just asking what movies did he use or wear that apparel? That was one of them.
Cool. Yeah, we're getting ready to get Westworld on, I forget which.
Is that HBO?
Is it HBO? Yeah. I do not think Yul Brynner will be in that one.
No, I don't think so. But I think the role is played by Ed Harris, so I'm like, hey, that kind of works.
All right.
Because I've seen a picture of him in a black cowboy outfit, and it's supposed to be Westworld. So I'm thinking, okay, that's the Yul Brynner role. That will work.
Sweet, yeah.
I like Ed Harris, so that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Mikey, you got any other choices?
I do have one more, and in this one I cheated. I just flat out cheated. Um, because the movie I chose for this one already has sequels, but I don't like them. So we're going to
Oh,
throw
okay.
them out, and we're going to make a real sequel to The Matrix.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Friday the 13th. Okay, well.
No,
I thought he was going with Gilligan's Island.
I see. I'm the. How many sequels were there to that? I'm thinking at least three, but
I think three.
Well, nothing can beat the Harlem Globetrotters visiting. That was just awesome.
uh, I'm lost. And also their appearance in Futurama makes that kind of funny, really. But I digress. But okay? So now back to the Matrix because I'm gonna lose my place if I don't.
Okay.
Uh, possibly in the world, I'm not sure. Um, so here's the deal. You've got this movie which you've got a chosen one. It's a almost classic, almost stereotypical chosen one type movie where the entire movie is the chosen one coming into his own. And I mean, the big twist in this is that the chosen one comes into his own in the last 3 minutes of the movie, as opposed to doing it the whole time. But so all of a sudden you've got this dual world, and you've got this chosen one, and you end the movie. A sequel makes sense. However, what the Wachowskis did not make sense. It just went the wrong direction with it as far as I'm concerned, and it just I mean in both of the movies, both of the sequels kind of went in different directions from each other as well, and it just and I'm not alone. Hardly anybody liked these movies. There are people who like them, I'm sure, but overall they did not go over well, and I would just I mean you've got plenty to play with without starting to introduce new and weirder shit in the sequel. You can just work with what you've got. You can just get Lawrence Fishburne and Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu back and do something interesting with them. And honestly, they're probably not quite even too old to do this yet. They're older for sure, but you can clean that up in post and make something better. Make something that fits the world that they create. They spent that whole movie creating, or the two worlds that they spent that whole movie creating. That's enough. You don't have to do all of this other weird crap that they did.
I remember seeing the first one, oh, I don't know how many times at the theaters because I
Oh
was
yeah.
just so floored.
Oh yeah. It was groundbreaking. It was amazing.
Yeah, because some of the stuff they did, all of a sudden you started seeing it in other movies, especially the fight sequences.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one came out, and I was just, I was dumbfounded. I was just as like, really? And I've had no interest in seeing the third one, and it's because of the second one. I was like, I just, I was so thoroughly unimpressed. And I'm not talking about the visuals. I'm talking about the story.
Hmm.
It
It
just it didn't make any sense. It didn't really move anything along.
it didn't. It didn't. I mean, I'm not sure it even told a story really.
Yeah.
It was just oh, so frustrating.
I remember sitting in the theater going, why are we spending 5 to 10 minutes watching everybody on the dance floor? How is this how is this how
Yeah,
is this helping
what
us
does this
resist?
tell us about humanity? Which is, I mean, we're in the real world when this is going
Yeah.
on. What does this tell us about the real world?
I
I,
mean
That
they're
we
they're
all get boogie fever.
okay.
yeah, well, I can watch Breakin' 2 if I want to see that.
Or watch Thank God It's Friday. But yeah, I mean, you got this whole world of humans who are fighting the Matrix. But let's just stop down in the middle of our fight and let's just party. Because why not? Okay.
Yeah, see, and I always kind of viewed that as almost it was almost a religious thing. It was almost as if that was like a church service. And I mean, as church services go, it was pretty fun, but I don't know. Yeah, it didn't need that.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't work. And
I
so,
mean, we're picking on that one sequence, but I mean, that's just a good example of how the rest of the movie was. It
right,
just
it's
didn't
just that
fit.
it's Neo traveling around to different places, meeting these different things that don't fit into either of these two worlds that they created. They went to all this trouble to create in the first movie, and he's just all of a sudden he's outside of both of them somehow, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
It's almost like he took a back seat, like he was in the first film. He was still trying. He was like, okay, you spent all this time going. This is in the first one. It was like, this is what you can do. You just got to believe. And then he finally believed, and he was able to do it. Then we go to the second film, and all of a sudden he's basically acting like he was in the first film, just going,
Yeah,
okay,
all you have to do is believe, but there's so much shit you don't know that you'll never get it, and it won't make any difference until you do. And I'm like, what? How does that work? How does that help? How is what? Where's the? I mean, how?
yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's just.
I agree. Okay, yeah, well, I'm gonna allow that. Les, you gonna allow it?
I will allow it.
Oh, thanks. I
It is
appreciate
so
it.
allowed.
You got the vote of confidence from Les. Woohoo!
Woo!
Yay!
I got the less stamp of approval.
Mm.
And the crowd did guffaw.
Ah.
That was not the crowd guffawing. That was Gollum guffawing. But anyway.
I thought somebody
um,
was passing gas for a minute.
it could have been. You never
Oh
know.
man, when Les starts with the fart jokes, then it's definitely time to move on to the next movie.
Yes, we definitely need to. I have an interesting choice. I thought about it the other day, and it's another one that I need to break out and watch again. I came across it by accident, and when I watched it, I was just totally floored over everything. It's from 2001, so yes, it's a more recent film. Not as recent as Mike's choices, but that's okay. It's called Frailty,
Oh yeah, I remember
and
somebody made me watch that movie when it came
yeah,
out.
who was that? Who was that?
That guy. I mean,
Yeah, it's that guy. Okay, and the premise is man who received the vision, believing that he talked to Angel of God, saying that he's been given these powers to destroy demons that live among us. And he's been given these tools to take care of them. And he has two boys. And most of this is told back in flashback. Current day is the sons are grown up, and there's a series of murders, and this is happening actually in more or less in our area, the North Texas area, or right. I know it's in Texas. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's North Texas, or maybe just a little bit south of that. But great cast, a great story. I mean, when the ending happened, some of it I kind of had figured out, but not to the extent. But there is an ending, but there's so much more that could be told. I just love the film. The cast included Matthew McConaughey, Bill Paxton, and this was his directorial debut. Powers Booth, and it's just, oh man, it's such a beautiful film. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
yeah. And this was the movie that showed to me that Bill Paxton could really act.
Yes.
I hadn't seen, I won't say I had seen all of his stuff up to that point, but he'd kind of gotten stuck doing the same thing most of the time. But
Yeah.
this one, oh man, he did an amazing job as the dad.
Yeah. Les, have you seen it?
I don't recall it, but that doesn't mean much either.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I'll let you borrow the DVD. I'll have to locate it, but I can let you borrow it. Well, it's in my stack with the others, so it take me a couple of minutes. It won't be too long, but it's worth the watch. Everybody that I've told about the film and encouraged them to watch it, they've enjoyed it as well. So that makes me feel good. That kind of vindicates.
I was one of them, so I'll vouch for that.
Yeah, yeah. Les, do you have another choice, or are you good?
I think I'm good, thanks.
Okay, awesome. Good choices all around. Some very nice picks. Unfortunately, we will not see any of those, but hey, they
Probably
didn't
not.
ask us. No, they didn't ask us, so that's okay.
Well, that'll learn them.
hmm So when we come back, we'll have our weekly picks. And we're back, and it's time for our weekly picks. And leading off is Les.
I'm going to begin with an all ages title. IDW is publishing Mickey Mouse shorts, and this is a collection of small stories in the comic book. Paul Reddish is the writer and artist for this, and in the next issue, Mickey will face the not so quite living terror of Goofy's zombie cousin in a story called Ghoul Friend. With this story, there'll be three other shorts in there, and it's something that I've enjoyed, and I think most ages will.
Very cool.
Well, that's surprisingly dark, really.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort
Not
of.
that's not a complaint. It's just I'm just a little surprised.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's surprising what the cover looks like. I was kind of shocked, but after reading the synopsis of it, yeah, it would fit.
Cool. My first choice is from Dynamite. It's called Great Divide, written by Ben Fisher and art by Adam Markovitz. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm sure I did. The premise of this series is the faintest touch from contact from one person to another one results in a very painful death, and and this is called the divide. How apparently everybody kind of separates themselves from others, obviously because they can't touch. But 2 years later, after this particular event has happened, a couple of thieves have come across a possible cure, but from what it sounds like, they may be prevented from. They might be prevented from bringing this to the attention of the world and saving everybody. So, it sounds like a very interesting premise to it's a 6-issue miniseries. And the thing that's kind of interesting is there's going to be a free song download. Apparently, it's going to be appropriate for the book, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
So
this one sounds interesting.
it sounds very interesting. Yeah, Mikey, what you got?
Alrighty. My first one is an Image book, and it is The Fuse. Issue 21 is coming out this week, and I have talked a little bit about this series. It is basically set in an orbital city, kind of, if you can believe this, a grittier Babylon 5 type setup. And the main characters are essentially the detectives, the two detectives on this station. So they're the cops. And Ralph is he kind of at the beginning of the series he transferred from the surface. So he's kind of a younger guy. And Clem is a much older Russian lady. And they're kind of a bit mismatched, although they do warm up to each other a little bit anyway, mainly because they recognize each other's skills as they kind of have to work together. And so now in issue 21, we are working on the fourth arc, and it's Clem's son lives on the station, and he's gotten himself into trouble, and so they're working to figure out what the hell's going on. And this is definitely a very fun series. It's got some nice gritty elements to it, and the setting is. I mean, I compare it to Babylon 5, but it's not exactly that. Check it out. I'm kind of stumbling over words here because I'm not describing it well, which is not good given the position I'm in here. But it's.
Let me ask you, Mike.
It is a lot of
fun.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Have they described as to, or what the connection is between Clem? Is it Clem's son, or is Clem that's in trouble?
It's Clem's son that's in trouble.
Okay. Have they attached his problem to the main problem of the story? Do you think they're working that direction, maybe?
Quite possibly. I haven't figured that part out yet exactly.
Okay. That would be to me, that would be a major right there if they do a connection and then it's a big swoop to try to finish off a story.
Right, and I don't know that they'll go that big, but we'll see. Because, like I said, I think this is like the third issue of this arc, so there's a few more to come.
Okay.
So they're probably not tying anything to anything yet, but this is a really well written series, so it'll get tied to something eventually.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Les, number 2.
Number 2, coming from Boom Studios, is Skyborn number 1. In this, Frank Cho combines James Bond with elements of fantasy. In this story, the legend of Arthur is alive and well, and it's up to Skyborn to stop the evil Merlin from destroying the world. I'm definitely ready for this. You've got a great artist with Cho. He's done Liberty Meadows. He's done the latest variant covers for Wonder Woman. He did Where Monsters Dwell for Marvel here recently. I think he's going to be able to handle this, and it looks like it's going to be a fun limited series. So I'm waiting for this one next week for sure.
Sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
I like Bond and I like Arthurian legend, so
yeah, you're there.
I think I'm gonna have to look at this one.
Yep. I think he's been signed up. Cool. My second choice is another brand new series. This one's from Image. It's called Eclipse. Written by Zachary Kaplan and art by Giovanni Timpano. And the premise is there's an event with the sun that transforms the light into a deadly ray. So everybody has to start living in the dark. And what happens here is a killer comes out and he uses sunlight to do his job. And his latest target is a daughter of a solar power mogul. And this one sounds really intriguing too. When I looked at my choices, I didn't realize that both of them were going to be in the near future, but it wasn't done on purpose. But both of these are very intriguing stories, so it's going to be fun to check these out.
Yeah, you're on a sci-fi kick this week.
Yeah, I guess so.
Most of your movie picks were sci-fi too.
That's true. That's very true. Mikey, what you got?
I'm gonna get away from sci-fi for a minute here. And I've got another Image book, and it is called Midnight of the Soul. This is issue 4 of 5. And this is the story of we actually, I think, talked about this at one point, not too long ago.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
I'm sure Les talked about it. Yeah.
yeah, it's a Howard Chaykin book, so I know Les is in. But yeah, it's about a World War II soldier. He comes home. He spends a few years struggling to become a writer and drinking a lot, and ends up kind of losing his connection with his wife. And this series is kind of the story of him trying to figure out how to get that back, or at least deal with some of those issues and some of the issues from the war and all of that. And it's kind of a fun little noir romp through like the underbelly of New York City in like 1950 or so. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun thus far. Be interesting to see how it turns out.
Yes, thank you for choosing that one.
Yeah.
It's a fun read.
It is. Got a lot of cool noir elements.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Good choices all around. A lot of good stuff. First week of September is looking real good, comic-wise. Any special mentions?
Well, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention the recent passing of Gene Wilder.
Yes.
It's hard to know exactly what to say. I mean, he holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts for a lot of the movies that he did. And he definitely lived a full life, but you still hate to see anybody have to deal with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And how all that turns out, and it's just not nice. But so yeah, he's one that will definitely be missed by a lot of people.
This has really been a bad year for some notable deaths. It just didn't seem to be. I don't remember a year like this before, but then again,
yeah, I'm not sure why it seems so much worse this year. I mean, it's not like people didn't die last year, but it does seem like it's a lot more or something. I don't know. A lot more impact somehow this year. It's weird.
It may be more impact on our generation, I guess. That's kind of one of the things with us getting old. The people we watched or read about or
are also getting old.
heard about. Yeah, they're getting old too. So it's tough. This one hurts. This almost hurts, almost as bad as when Leonard Nimoy passed away.
Yeah.
And it's not because of a lot of people would mention Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't grow up watching that. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times. It's a great film. It's just the volume of work that he did. There's such a lot of great movies that he was in, and there's a good portion of them that he was involved as a writer. Obviously there's Young Frankenstein, there's producers. I love the producers. Silver Streak, and the other films that he collaborated with Richard Pryor, Stir Crazy and See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Just a lot of good films that he was in. They were memorable. It was sad that he decided to retire and have a private life. I don't blame him for doing that, but it was kind of sad because we could have had more from him, but he did what he did, and that was well within his reason to do so. So he will be missed big time.
Most definitely. You look at his list, and I don't know of a bad movie that he did. I don't know of one bad movie under his list. And of course, I think he was one of those in the Mel Brooks stable I'm going to do a movie. Do you want to be in it? And Wilder was one of those that was ready to go. I think he appeared in 4 movies with Brooks. So, yeah, and they were diverse. He did comedies. He did a lot of comedies. But each time he took a different persona for the character. In The Producers, he was a frightened man. His scenes with Zero Mostel and Mostel trying to calm him down were classic.
Oh, with him grabbing the blue blanket. Oh, man, yeah.
Yes. I'm hysterical and I'm wet. It just is a great line.
I'm wet and I'm hysterical and I can't.
Yes.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yes, I'm with you guys. He will be greatly missed, but where he is, he's better off than what he was dealing with here.
Oh, most definitely. Any other special mentions? Les, you got anything?
Just that we just passed the 99th birthday of Jack Kirby, who is a mainstay in the comic book geek culture. The man that established so many characters and did so much art continuously for decades.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing, I want to say, 4 to 6 issues a month for Marvel. And there were other artists, but he would essentially establish the character and then it would be handed to someone else to go forward. But if he were with us, he would have been 99 this past weekend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got a special mention. And yes, happy birthday to Jack Kirby, the King.
Definitely.
I know there's some that are not fans of his work, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. But I love his work. I've loved his imagination. Some really cool characters and stories told from those pencils. So yeah, my special mention. I kind of want to bring it to everybody's attention that a special will be. I think it starts airing on the 4th, and I think there's going to be several different airings on the Smithsonian Channel. Is a 2-hour special called Building Star Trek, and what it's talking about is the technology that was shown on the original series and how some of that is now in our hands these days, and some of the other technology is in the process of development. There's been other specials celebrating the history of the show, and this segment has always been given maybe 5 to 10 minutes worth out of a hour or 2-hour special. So the fact that Smithsonian's going to devote a whole 2 hours over this would be really cool to see, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So if y'all are a Star Trek fan or just curious, definitely check it out. I mean, the cell phone, the flip phone, it was on purposely designed to look like the communicator from the original Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tablets that we all use nowadays, stuff like that was being used, something similar in the Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
They had something similar back then. Now I don't know if it's just going to be in the original show. It may, because they may cover all the series, but I know it's going to be Star Trek. Maybe just Star Trek in general, but it would be cool to see some more.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, the stupid little Bluetooth things that people have in their ear that stick out.
Yeah.
Uhura had one of those in her ear.
Uhura had that back in the original show. Exactly. Yep. So I would recommend checking it out. I've already got it set up on my DVR to record, and I'll watch it after I get through, finish up my Three Stooges.
Okay.
Can only watch one thing at a time, unfortunately.
Yep. So, any other mentions before shoutouts and sign off?
I'm good.
I think I'm out.
Okay. Well, first off, we wanted to shout out to our guys in Manning the Martyr for the awesome music that you hear every week or every time you listen to our show. Thank you guys so very, very much. Joel and the guys, thank y'all. You're awesome. We appreciate it. Also want to shout out to Potter and Family on Twitter, hashtag Potter and Family. I suggest we suggest you go to Twitter and do a search for hashtag Potter and Family, and you will find any kind of podcast you can think of, and a great group of people doing those podcasts. So definitely get you check them out.
Mm-hmm.
We do thank them for spreading the word of the fellowship, and we are doing our darndest to return that love. Appreciate you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, where would we be without you guys, the listener? Thank you for downloading these episodes. Thank you for listening. Hope you're enjoying them as much as we are recording these. We always appreciate your feedback, whether it's in person or via internet. We always welcome it. You can always contact us either on the website itself, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. There is a About Us page, and there's a little form there you can fill out. Or you can send us a email at email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can contact us through social media. We're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We are also on Twitter, obviously, at Fellowship Geeks. Mikey has his own personal Twitter page, at Mikey Geek. And I have one as well, at TomTCGeek. And it would be really, really cool if you go back to whether it's iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play and just give us a little review, or just do the stars or the thumb up, thumb down.
Well, preferably a thumb up, obviously.
Well, thumb up. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
be honest. No, we're not asking you to lie or nothing, but
Yeah, we're not asking you to lie, but
the,
yeah.
the better it is, the better it looks on us, and it has an effect on where we show up and whatever ratings or standings or whatever that they have on that particular platform. So however you download us, throw out a review or whatever. Hit a rating.
Yeah, it would be much appreciated.
Tell a friend.
And definitely tell a friend.
You have friends, right? Come on. We know you do. We know you have friends. Tell your friends to listen to us.
I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, and if you need like a little prompt for if you want to holler at us on whatever social media, let us know what movies you want to see a sequel for.
Exactly. That would be cool. That would be cool to see.
Fire something off at one or all of us. It'll be fun. We reply and
I'm
everything.
sensitive.
Yeah, but you're not on Twitter, so it's cool.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, we still need to set up that fake Les Webster.
Yeah, we might have to do that soon.
Yeah, we may have to. All right. Anything else? I think that's it, right?
Just thanks everybody.
Yes, thank you very much.
And I'll make it unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we enjoy doing these. Even when we're having some bad days, we get on here and things are a lot better. So hopefully we're having that same kind of effect on y'all. So until then, y'all take care, read more comics, and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks, and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,